my colleagues for joining us this morning, and most especially to Senator Blackburn, who has been a tremendous ally in this work and a partner. We have worked in a very collegial way on a number of hearings so far, including this one on hidden holiday hazards. And we have really an extraordinarily distinguished and able panel joining us this morning, beginning with Trista Hamsmith, who will tell us her personal story of tragedy that she has turned into a positive. And I really want to thank you, Trista, for being here today in the memory of your daughter, Reese. And as we will announce today, Senator Blackburn and I, we are introducing a bill that, in fact, will seek to protect against exactly the kind of tragedy that you experienced. And I want to welcome you, and I understand your mom is here as well. Thank you for joining us today. This issue is an extraordinarily serious one, and I want to thank the United States Public Interest Research Group for the constant work that you have done over so many years. I have worked in cooperation with the Connecticut PIRG now for probably 25 years or more, every year to publicize the dangers that come from toys. And the report that you do every year, Trouble in Toyland, is really a model of public service and public education. And yet, year after year, we find again and again that these tragedies are repeated, unfortunately, and so grievously for the families affected. The holidays ought to be a time of really unsurpassed joy and celebration, but all too often they culminate in trips to emergency rooms because of dangers that result from toys and decor that is involved in the holidays. And we all, if we think about it, have some experience with these kinds of mishaps, accidents, whatever they may be called. They are principally the result of either carelessness or bad manufacturing or lack of standards in those toys that children use. And they are joyful about receiving them until those tragedies result. We're going to talk today about some of the most common culprits. If we were to rename this hearing, it might be called Swallowing Bad Stuff. Swallowing bad stuff that results in choking or digestive failure or poisoning. What we know is that the repeated culprits are magnets, button cell batteries, small parts in ordinary toys, balloons, and we're going to go through them in this hearing. But I have examples. For example, the button cell batteries that are found in these kinds of lights come out easily, can be swallowed. They are very small by an 18-month-old child, as happened in your case, Trista, with Reese, or by pets or older people. These button cell batteries are a menace, and every year, literally every year, thousands cause emergency room visits. In 2020 alone, there were 3,500 reported button battery ingestions. That number is likely an undercount. The estimate is that only about 11% of these kinds of ingestions are actually reported. In Connecticut, since 2016, there have been 70 reported battery ingestions. 24 of them resulted in hospital admissions. And very alarmingly, button batteries have become more common, and between March and September of 2020 alone, March and September of 2020, there were an increase of 93% in injuries among children resulting from them. We're going to explore a little bit about what the reasons might have been. Perhaps they were, in fact, the fact that the pandemic caused people to be at home with toys. They were used more often. We can speculate, but the main point is these kinds of injuries are preventable, and that's the reason that we have introduced, Senator Blackburn and I are introducing Reese's Law in honor of Reese Ham-Smith, and her loss of life, I think, is going to inspire us to do more and do it better. The other major culprit, magnets, which obviously can be pulled apart, can be swallowed. They're small, easily ingested, but they have a magnetic force that can pull together different sections of the digestive tract, blocking, perforating, damaging intestines, stomachs, especially in the smallest of children. And each of these little magnets can be pulled apart, can be found on the floor, can be ingested, and they have resulted also in thousands over the last 10 years of injuries and trips to the emergency room. In total, here's the statistic that I hope folks will remember. 150,000 toy-related injuries were reported in 2020 alone, and 9 deaths. 150,000 injuries resulting from toys like the ones that I have shown, and 9 deaths. And some of them result from counterfeiting, where lesser materials or poor workmanship were involved. Counterfeiters can, with relative ease, sell knockoff toys or other goods at a cheap price to unwitting holiday shoppers. Counterfeit toys may be dangerous because of their use of cheap materials and lack of compliance with product safety standards, but they also may fail to display accurate warning labels, which could mislead or confuse consumers. And I want to mention, in the category of choking, balloons, which are, once again, very innocent looking, and in fact are wonderful playthings as long as they remain inflated. If they are broken, the bits and pieces or uninflated balloons can be swallowed by children. And again, one of the most common causes of choking and asphyxiation are balloons, which are left on the floor where small children crawling around or running around can ingest them. And holiday decor, Christmas trees, this kind of automatic light for the Christmas tree. You press this if it's linked to a plug, can overheat, or the tree itself can ignite if candles are used. Different materials, unsafe materials in menorahs, as well as Christmas trees, can cause fires. And in fact, from 2016 to 2018, there were about 100 Christmas tree fires and about 1,100 candle fires, resulting in 30 deaths and 180 injuries. There's a lot of work to do in educating the public. But in addition to education, enforcement is also important. Enforcement by the Consumer Product Safety Commission, which needs more resources. It has been, unfortunately, underfunded. And it faces roadblocks in conducting recalls, leaving consumers in the dark about what products may be dangerous to their families. The CPSC is required to go through an extraordinarily burdensome rulemaking process that slows down many needed product standards, preventing action from being taken on well-established dangers. So we need to fortify the CPSC with additional resources sufficient to do enforcement, and also more adapted resources so they can do their job more effectively. They are the main watchdog and warning system for consumers so that these kinds of tragedies can be prevented. And that's the key word, prevented. These kinds of accidents, injuries, deaths can be prevented if we take action to stop the hidden problems in many of these toys, hidden in plain sight. Warnings will help caregivers and parents before they buy or after someone provides a gift to make sure that holidays are really a time of joy, not tragedy. With that, I will turn to the ranking member.